nobody's denying that last season was a major disappointment for San Francisco. Now you're in line to have to pay Brock Purdy, who for the last couple of years has been one of the biggest bargains at the quarterback position. And I don't agree with the sentiment that after the 49ers pay Brock Purdy, it's going to cripple them to the point where their Super Bowl window is going to be closed shut. One thing about San Francisco that gives me a lot of confidence they still are going to be able to compete for a Super Bowl after paying Brock Purdy is, for one, they've drafted incredibly well. Isaac Guerrero last season didn't really know too much about this guy during the draft process, and yet when Jordan Mason went down, Chris McCaffrey went down, he stepped up and he was really good. You also got rookie Pearsall, who showed a little bit of promise during his rookie season, and if he never got shot, who knows how good he could have been in year one if he didn't have to miss that time. Renardo Green was pretty good as a rookie as well. And also, the defense is going to be back to playing at an elite level. You bring back Robert Saleh, who 49ers fans have been having their fingers crossed for the last couple of years that he would be able to return back to the Bay Area. And a huge issue that hindered the 49ers making it to the playoffs last year, outside of injuries and inefficiency on offense, was you didn't have the defense playing at the level that we've been accustomed to seeing this unit play at for so many years. Robert Saleh, when he got fired by the Jets, that defense went from being top 10 in the league to one of the worst in the league very quickly. It's not like he's going to be learning the ropes all over again. They have had a lot of great players on that side of the football, and they still do. When Nick Bosa is fully healthy, he's still one of the best pass rushers in the league. And last year, when he wasn't on the field, you saw how different that 49ers defense looked. But with him coming back, bringing back Robert Saleh, it's guaranteed that the 49ers are at least going to have a top 10 defense, and that's going to be the bare minimum. Why is it safe to assume that? Well, look at Robert Saleh's track record, and look what the 49ers have done these last couple of years when they have got it right when it comes to their defensive coordinator hires. You get a healthy Chris McCaffrey back. I'm expecting CMC to revert back to the form that we saw when the 49ers went to the Super Bowl against Kansas City, and Chris McCaffrey was arguably the best offensive player in the league during that year. I felt when Christian McCaffrey got on the cover of Madden, it was a pretty sure thing that he was going to get injured. You already have one of the most injury-prone players ever, and then you put him on Madden, and then he risked getting the Madden curse. Of course, Christian McCaffrey was due to have an injury-riddled season, but now he's coming back healthy. You missing the playoffs actually is a good thing. You probably weren't going to go that far to begin with, and if you would have made it to the postseason, Christian McCaffrey probably would have rushed himself back from injury, and he probably could have re-aggravated the injury that had to sideline him for the rest of the year. We know CMC is still one of the most talented running backs in the league. And when you have somebody that is pretty much a Hall of Fame level talent, not saying Christian McCaffrey is going to make it to the Hall of Fame, but we can't say that he's a Hall of Fame level talent. You can be a Hall of Fame level talent and still not be in the Hall of Fame. When he gets back to what he was in 2022, 2023, the 49ers offense is going to be back humming again. What makes this offense work is not all of the weapons that they have at receiver, even though they do have Jawan Jennings, rookie Pearsall, and Brandon Ayuk is coming off the injury. I still think he'll be a B-, B-tier receiver. But this offense hums when Christian McCaffrey is rolling. And the 49ers, they know that they have to get that offensive line improved. It looks like they are prioritizing investing all of their draft capital into improving the trenches, the line of scrimmage, not just on the offensive line, but on the defensive line as well, which also was a unit that hurt them. There's more reasons to be optimistic about the 49ers Super Bowl window still being open than there are to be pessimistic. Another thing is that every time Kyle Shanahan has had a down season, he's always bounced back with a great season in return. And 2024 was more so of a reality check for Kyle Shanahan. After last season concluded, he realized that he had to make changes, not just from a personnel standpoint, but from a philosophical standpoint. We know how much he loved Deebo Samuel. There's a reason why the 49ers were hesitant to trade him, even though they probably should have traded him a long time ago. He was such a focal point of that offense. For the 49ers to move on from him and a couple of other key veterans that they've ran it with for so long, it's a sign that there are changes that are being made, or from a front office standpoint to a coaching standpoint, to where they're not about to make the same mistake twice. You paid Brandon Ayuk, you tried to trade him. Nobody is going to take him coming off MCL tear and all of the other injuries that came with it. So you're stuck with him. But it's not as if the brother is just going to completely become a jabroni. He's going to become a bum. When he missed all of training camp and the majority of the offseason due to those contract negotiations, it was expected that it was going to be a little bit of a slow start to the season for him. But you don't get rid of a guy like Brandon Ayuk, who has still shown the ability to be a productive wide receiver for you inside of your offense. A guy like Deebo had to go due to his skill set just not being good enough for the 49ers to solely rely on him when you are struggling to get open, you're struggling with drops, you're just mildly inconsistent. It was time to move on from Deebo. And trading Deebo Samuel is a sign that Kyle Shanahan, philosophically, he's about to change his offense somewhat. The red zone was a huge area that held this team back as well, where the year prior they had one of the best red zone offenses in the league. The 49ers have just as good as a chance as anybody else in the NFC to still make it to the Super Bowl. Everybody in this conference is overgoing some major changes. The Detroit Lions have to overcome losing two key coordinators. They lose their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator to head coaching jobs. Are they still going to be as good without those guys as what they were when they had them? We don't know. The Minnesota Vikings, how good are they going to be with J.J. McCarthy? Is there going to be a drop-off moving on from Sam Darnold? There are a lot of teams in the NFC that are presumed to be Super Bowl favorites or have better odds to win it all than the 49ers, who have just as many questions as what San Francisco has. San Francisco has been one of the more consistent teams when it comes to consistently being in the Super Bowl conversation for over the last 4 to 5 years. They've been to 2 Super Bowls, and if they would have played anybody but Patrick Mahomes, they probably would have walked away with at least one of those. I'm confident the 49ers still have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, and I feel like the whole Super Bowl window thing is overrated anyway, because you really don't know when a team still has a chance to win it all and when they don't. We've seen teams like the Cincinnati Bengals of all franchises make random Super Bowl runs, so there really isn't such a thing as a Super Bowl window. It's just a little bit random. More teams have a better shot at winning the Super Bowl this upcoming season than what you may think, and the 49ers are definitely one of them. And I believe in Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, although he may not be one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, what gets overlooked about him is that he's one of the most consistent performers in big games. He has won in the playoffs. He has led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. It's not a Jimmy Garoppolo situation. They are asking Brock Purdy to throw the football a lot more than what they ever asked Jimmy Garoppolo to do. They trust Brock Purdy more late in games than what they ever trusted Jimmy G. It's right to pay Brock Purdy. He's a top 10 quarterback. No matter if you have to make him a guy who gets paid $50, $55 million a year, and he becomes top 5 highest paid at his position, it's hard to find quarterbacks who consistently win in the postseason. You don't go from being Mr. Irrelevant to leading a team in the Super Bowl if there wasn't something special about you. What makes Brock Purdy special is that he's a gamer. He throws with great anticipation. He gets the ball out fast. He also has a good amount of mobility as well. He is the perfect quarterback for Kyle Shanahan's offense. You don't have to get a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, or a Patrick Mahomes kind of talent to win a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts isn't considered one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. Most people consider him to be a really good game manager, and he just led the Eagles to the Super Bowl. If Jalen Hurts can win a Super Bowl, if guys like Joe Flacco can win a Super Bowl, so can Brock Purdy. The 49ers Super Bowl window is not closed. It's still wide open.